It's Super Wacky Sports Ball 99!
As you can tell, I'm an elite gamer. But sports games these days suck ass. When was the last time you played a game based on a major national multi-billion-dollar revenue sport that was actually fun, and not just a circle jerk and fulfilling sports fanboys' deluded dreams of tapping buttons for a digital avatar paralleling the real-world experience of a world-class athlete?
Championship defense starts today. Let's get it.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Wait, hang on now. I know some of you have shouted some kickback on that last one, but for this video, I'm only talking about games based on non-extreme, real-world sports. There's plenty of great games, both old and new, based on extreme sports, unconventional sports, or sports that don't exist. Yes, they still make great Tony Hawk games. Windjammers is still a blast. Rocket League is an excellent representation of full three-dimensional soccer, and Apex Legends exists alongside a litany of games that take place during an era of fictional blood sports and unrealistic fantasy competition, blah. That's not what I'm talking about. When it comes to anything designed to make golf watchable, or tennis less embarrassing, or football slightly less lifelong brain trauma inducing, the last decade has been an utter disappointment. Let's take a look at the big three boys of all American athletics: football, basketball, and baseball. Madden decided it was better to slurp up and spit out recycled diarrhea than put in the work to actually create a desirable product this year, which is the same thing they did last year, and the year before that, 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 and the year before that. NBA 2K22 had a blatant, full-on State Farm commercial integrated into the career mode, disguised as a side quest. I mean, look at this!
And remember, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
This qualifies as an immersive RPG sports experience in 2022. Yeah, I know technically now it's 2023, but you get my point. Also, you know what the best part of your simulated basketball experience that you paid $60 for is? Even more real-world, unskippable advertisements. It's absolutely disgraceful. If you paid legal currency for this and think it's worth your hard-earned dollar, the only half-court shot that you deserve to take is out of a gun. MLB The Show exists, I guess. I'm not even interested enough to look up footage of it and write some jokes because I'll never fucking play it and I don't give a shit, and neither should you. I mean, seriously, look at this gameplay footage I'm gonna insert here. It's the most boring thing I've ever seen. Golf. Ugh. Hockey. Yep, that's hockey, all right. Soccer. Oh my god, loot boxes! Do I even have to fucking talk about the fact there's loot boxes in a sports game? Now I could go through a point-by-point analysis on why these games don't work individually, but that's not the argument I'm putting forth here. These games represent a current design philosophy that milks clueless consumers dry while failing to provide an entire neglected market with a product that they have a huge selection of from the 90s and 2000s. My thesis statement for this video is a simple question. What happened to fun, over-the-top arcade sports games? What happened to taking sports video games and putting the video game part into them, instead of trying with a broken mess of an engine to recreate something you'll never be able to fully translate to a digital experience without extensive virtual reality and homoeroticism? Why is it if I want a bombastic, exaggerated, and stylized version of sports, you know, something you can't get with the real-life game or simulators, the only place I can turn to is Super fucking Mario? I don't want to leverage the Mario sports games as a solution to my problem because those are an entirely different beast. Mario sports games range from great to good to decently fun. Kart racing is a sport, shut the fuck up. But they're much less a cartoonish version of the sport they represent and more, what would it look like if Mario played baseball? Or what if Mario made his own battle sports arena? Or, well, what if Mario lost his sponsorship deals because he crashed his car while being chased by his golf club wielding wife that he cheated on one too many times? times. There's a difference between making a recognizable sport more flashy and a cartoon using a sport as a platform to be the cartoon you expect it to be. I don't play Mario Kart expecting to ever have a good old-fashioned race determined by driving ability. I expect it to be a good old-fashioned race determined by driving ability that at any time can be ruined by RNG bullshit totally out of my control. Sure, if you get into a race at a local NASCAR track, there's a chance that a bolt of lightning could strike you mid-corner, but let's just say getting blue-shelled is a bit more common. I'm talking about sports games that are like the beautiful masterpieces made by Midway Games. Rest in peace. Most of you probably know Midway for creating Mortal Kombat, but if this video educates even one of you out there on how amazing they used to be at making arcade sports games, then I've done my job. These are games that don't just use the concept of a sports game as a platform to make whatever sort of game you want. I'm talking about arcade classics that take the rules and play of the sport you're familiar with and crank that shit up to 11. Games like NBA Jam. It's a 2v2 basketball game, except the dunks look like this. And the announcer sounds like this. That's Tim Kitzrow, by the way, a man whose voice I have utilized and parodied time and time again in my work, because humanity long ago agreed that he is iconic as fuck.
Boom shakalaka! And right back at you, Huggbees. And I gotta say, this is the best video I've ever been a part of, and certainly well worth the use of your $100 that you spent to request this personalized message. So, on to the message. What do you need me to say? What's the message? Huh? That was the message? Wow. Well, always happy to help a friend out, so thanks, Huggbees. Boom shakalaka! And I am out of here. The nail in the coffin. Kaboom!
Stop it, Tim. You're too kind. We're really good friends. Tim is actually the announcer of every game I'm gonna feature in this video, so buckle the fuck up for some fun. NBA Jam is the highest grossing arcade game of all time, and it's not just that they had a special edition featuring notorious pimp hand expert Will Smith as the Fresh Prince, it's because they got something right. When a game rewards you for performing well by setting your character on fire, you've made something special.
Yeah, you want to talk about making something special? Just think how hard it was to do motion capture for the On Fire dunks. And this is all pre-CGI and the first motion capture sports title that was ever put together. And, you know, for the regular dunks, we found some basketball players from DePaul to do the mocap. But for the On Fire dunks, well, we found some college frat guys really just by dumb luck. They were deep frying a frozen turkey on St. Patty's Day on their second floor porch. And, you know, we were just dropping the basketball players off after their shoot. And we were lucky enough to capture that whole thing in one take. I mean, 2 somersaults on fire over the railing. I mean, talk about dumb luck. It's just crazy. I mean, what are the odds? Seriously, I mean, what are the odds?
NBA Jam is first and foremost a righteous dispenser of the game-improving libation known as Turbo. Use Turbo to run down the court faster. Use Turbo to dunk from further away. Use Turbo all the time and then scream like a demented chimpanzee when you watch your move fail because you forgot you used all your Turbo from just absentmindedly holding down the button. Then massively improve the game by putting in the infinite Turbo cheat and oh shit! I said the secret word. Cheat codes. Fuck, I miss cheat codes. Too bad they were all replaced with microtransactions.
Hey, Super Smash Brothers, I got a question for you. Why did they make you unlock every single character individually instead of tapping in a cheat code to get them all from the start? It's like me trying to order drinks on the airlines, right? Why do I have to order just 1 drink at a time instead of all 10? Is there a cheat code for ordering drinks when you're flying? I mean, if there isn't, there should be, right?
NBA Jam has an oddball quirk about it, though. It's a 90s basketball product with no Michael Jordan and no Charles Barkley. Sort of. Star of Space Jam, Charles Barkley, was in the original arcade run and home console releases of NBA Jam, but had his likeness pulled as he later realized his own basketball game, Barkley Shut Up and Jam, which most know for as the basis of Barkley Shut Up and Jam Guide in Chapter 1 of the Hoops Barkley saga, was the greatest game ever made. Talentless nobody player Mikel Jordan wasn't in the game due to conflicts with a likeness contract with Nike he had at the time, but he was gifted his own personalized version of the game in later years, which added him, Gary Payton, and secret steroid enthusiast Ken Griffey Jr. as secret characters.
Yeah, Jordan wasn't in Jam because he was like, well, if I make a video game, it's gonna make like $1 billion and I won't get a cent. Well, he was kind of half right. I mean, MJ did not make a cent, but because of me being in it, it did make $1 billion. So I got the last laugh over MJ because he didn't get a cent and I made $874. FYI, IYF, in your face, MJ.
Now, don't you worry, football fans. I see you jumping and flailing your arms around there like the little hulking gorillas that you are. NFL Blitz. Imagine a football game where you can tackle, at all times. And it's encouraged. Who gives a flying shit if the play's already over? Spam the tackle and change character buttons and watch your team start to fly in an absolute blood orgy.
Hey, what can I say? Blitz was a literal game changer. I mean, way ahead of its time. It was kind of like the TikTok before there was TikTok, right? I mean, you know, like the girl-on-girl brawls you watch in the fast food restaurant where someone gets their hair pulled off or their underwear pulled over their head, or the guy who lights his backyard barbecue with a gallon of gasoline and blows himself up. Totally unnecessary, but a whole lot of fun to watch.
Every hike is fucking pulse pounding. The pressure's on because the passes are lightning fast. The enemy defense is closing in just as quickly. Choose from a huge selection of wacky name plays to tell you next to nothing of how they're supposed to operate. And pray to the son of fuck that you don't for literally no reason. Just fumble the ball out of nowhere. Also, if you do good, you're on fire again. And the turbo button's still here, because of course it is. All games should have a turbo button. Period. Hey, modern games. Stop talking to me while I'm slow walking. I don't give a shit. Put a fucking turbo button in there. Also add characters lighting each other on fire when they're doing well. Why have we changed perfection that we already achieved back in the 90s?
Oh, I totally agree. Don't mess with 90s perfection. You know, like super baggy hip-hop jeans. You know, why mess with them? Hey, you know, it'd make us even more gangster if we wore skinny jeans. Bust a move, more like bust a nut. And what's wrong with regular lips for women? You know, back in the 90s, Sandra Bullock, Jennifer Aniston. I never thought to myself, you know, it'd make that chick a lot hotter if she had lips like a donkey. And the only guys that took a paper hole puncher to an earlobe worked for the mob or a drug cartel, and they didn't do it to themselves. You know, just because something's new or trending or popular doesn't make it a good thing. I mean, one time wearing red coats in the battle, that was trending, right? It was a new thing. It was like, oh, hey, look, Larry just got his face shot off. Oh, hey, look, now Fred's just got his face shot off. Must be trending. Oh, everyone's doing it. I can't wait to try it. Hey, look at me. I've got a red coat on. Yoo-hoo, over here. Oh, look. Now I'm trending. I mean, give me a break. 90s perfection. Leave it alone, right? Trending's overrated.
But let's say for some reason you don't want a fun as fuck zany sports game at the arcade. You want it at home. Well, let me answer that outcry with a question. You know what baseball needs more of? Violence. MLB Slugfest. You got your turbo button. Good. And when you do well, you spontaneously combust. Great. This game is already a 10 out of 10. You don't tag players with the ball in MLB Slugfest. You punch them with it. Speaking of punching, beating the pitcher is often settled with, well, a slugfest. Hits are meaty, both in the face and with the bat. And the crack of the wood exploding a ball into a home run is the most fun I've ever had with a bat in a while.
Oh, trust me, you weren't the only one. I mean, Slugfest was so much fun. It was a huge hit. It was the top-selling sports title on PlayStation. I mean, it was fun. It was tons of action, tons of hitting, over-the-top stuff. Fans loved it. And the MLB could learn a thing or two from Slugfest. I mean, right now, batting averages are at an all-time low. Strikeouts all-time high. It's called a snooze fest right now. And it's time they started hiring hitting coaches that actually hit their players. I mean, you strike out, you're going to get a Louisville slugger in the kneecaps. And when you're more worried about what the hitting coach is going to do to you, more than the 98-mile-an-hour fastball whistling by you, then you'll see guys producing. I mean, it's all right here in this book by our Slugfest game consultant and former hitting coach. It's called Fear of Sucking and Other Valuable Lessons I Learned in Prison. I mean, he doesn't lie.
Batting and pitching conventions are pretty much the same that you'd see in any other sports baseball game, but there's just an energy to it that makes it so much fun to play compared to them. And then there's NHL Hitz. I never played it, so who gives a shit?
Yeah, me either. But it was a pretty good game. I mean, it has a hardcore following, and it got all the attention at E3 back the year it came out, and so it was a big deal. You know, EA was so pissed that it outshone their $60 million hockey title that they decided to buy the company out of Vancouver that Midway had hired to produce the game. They paid $30 million in order to eliminate their competition. Smart business move, huh? That's why everybody in the industry respects EA so much, I guess, right?
Sadly, in 2009, due to financial troubles, Midway Games filed for bankruptcy. Whoever was left at the company at the time was later rolled into NetherRealm Studios, who currently make Mortal Kombat today as a subsidiary of Warner Brothers. Meanwhile, there's probably going to be a universal collapse before we see any of these kind of games again. Sports games now are either comfortably falling under the category of big boy brand recognition of yearly slot delivery systems, or are relegated to be so tangentially related to their source material that Mario seems to be the only one willing to try something fun with them. This could just be a personal observation, but I also feel that extreme sports games are on their way out entirely. Newer generations want games that feel larger, with an increased focus on competitive progress and player expression. If I play a game of Fortnite and choose Rick from Rick and Morty as my character, then I feel like Rick running around on a battlefield trying to not embarrass myself in this game made for children. But if I play as Spider-Man in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, then it's more like I'm watching Spider-Man skateboard around. And although I chose him as my avatar avatar, it's not fulfilling the sense that I am Spider-Man. Arcade sports games admittedly don't give the player much room for roleplay or immersion. They're more like a game of chess. The enjoyment comes from the execution of strategy and beating your opponent in a game of skill, rather than endlessly climbing a reward ladder and doing it just the way you want to. Either way, as a 90s Florida kid who grew up actually giving a shit that goofy large man Shaquille O'Neal won a championship with the Miami Heat, there's some real childhood nostalgia to seeing what I played as a kid to turn mentally sports games into what I wish they could be in real life. If you haven't played these games before, find a way to give them a shot. If you can't track down an arcade near you in the year of our Lord 2023, there's a ton of legally gray ways to play them. Do some Googling. Hint. But funny enough, all the games I talked about here don't even include the best arcade sports game of all time. In fact, it's not even a game made by Midway. It's a game I initially intended to include in the final section of this video, but mid-production I realized it deserves its own episode. Will I ever find the motivation to get off my lazy ass and make said video? Only one way to find out, and it's by staying tuned, you motherfucker.
Yeah, whatever, Hugbee, but before you do that video, you and I are going to talk about my latest game, Mutant Football League, that has everything you just said doesn't exist anymore. Way to do your homework, Hugbee. I mean, that's the only reason I did this show in the first place, is to talk about Mutant Football League. I mean, it's balls-to-the-wall football, sports, arcade fun, meets hallucinogens, meets drinking game, meets Saturday morning cartoons, it's got blood, it's got fire. Look, tell your listeners to check it out at mutantfootballleague.com. Oh, better yet, you check it out and get back to me. Love to stay and chat, Hugbee, but I just found out my car's limited warranty's about to run out. I gotta go. Boom shakalaka!
Oh, best of friends. Did he call me Hugbee?